Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. The sun had barely set on a dreary Tuesday when I met Tom at the corner pub, a place more accustomed to silent woes than raucous laughter. Over a couple of stale Alesh, Tom, a longtime friend and local cab driver, seemed uneasy. He had that look, the kind that spelled bad news. "Mark, there's something you need to see." "I wouldn't show you this if it weren't serious," Tom said, fidgeting with his phone. His hands shook slightly as he scrolled through his gallery. In the dim light of our booth, I noticed the lines of strain around his eyes. "What is it?" "You're scaring me, Tom." My voice felt tight, edged with a hint of fear. He handed me the phone, and the footage began to play. The dashboard camera footage was grainy, but the image was clear enough. There, in the back seat of a city cab, was Laura, my wife of 7 years. The timestamp was from last Thursday night. She was with someone unfamiliar, a man whose casual intimacy suggested a closeness that sent a chill through me. I watched, heart sinking, as the video showed them laughing together before she leaned in too close. The audio was muffled, but the betrayal didn't need subtitles. "I'm sorry, Mark. I didn't know who else he was until I saw Laura," Tom said, his voice a low murmur. I handed back the phone, my mind racing. "How did you get this?" "It's from Mike's cam. He showed it to me. He knows Laura, but he didn't know she was your wife." I stood abruptly, the chair scraping loudly against the old wooden floor. "I need some air," I mumbled, more to myself than to Tom. Outside, the cool breeze did little to soothe the firestorm inside me. The quaint streets that once felt like home now mocked me with each familiar corner. I wandered aimlessly, replaying the footage in my head, each frame etching deeper into my memory. The next days passed in a blur of anger and hurt. My thoughts turned dark, contemplating revenge. I needed to confront Laura, but not before I knew the full extent of her deceit. With a plan slowly forming, I visited Mike under the guise of casual interest in his cab's dashcam setup. "Hey, Mike. Tom mentioned you've got a pretty solid setup for the cabs. Mind if I check it out?" I kept my tone friendly, casual. "Sure thing, Mark. Always happy to show off the tech," Mike replied, leading me to his cab parked outside his rundown apartment complex. As he explained the configurations, I steered the conversation. "Tom showed me some footage from last week. Caught something interesting. You guys ever catch anything spicy?" Mike chuckled, oblivious to the undercurrents. "Oh, you have no idea. People forget there's a camera. We see all sorts." I nodded, feigning amusement. "Ever worry about privacy issues?" "Nah," Mike shrugged. "We tell them up front. It's all legal. Plus, helps with the shady types." I left Mike's place with a copy of the footage, a burning need for retribution fueling my steps. The image of Lara's laughter, so carefree and unburdened, played on loop in my mind. I planned meticulously over the next few days, gathering evidence of her infidelities, preparing my case for the most favorable divorce settlement possible. Lara's life as she knew it was about to crumble, and I was the architect of her downfall. My once tender love for her had calcified into something cold and vengeful. Tonight, I would confront her. Tonight, she would realize the cost of her betrayal. As I rehearsed what I would say, the mirror reflected a man I barely recognized. The pain had reshaped me, and there was no turning back. The night air is crisp, and my breath forms clouds as I approach our house. The lights are on, casting a warm glow that contrasts starkly with the chill in my bones. I push open the door, the familiar creak somehow ominous tonight. Laura is in the kitchen, humming softly to herself. She doesn't hear me enter. I pause, watching her for a moment. She looks relaxed, content, completely unaware of the storm about to break. "Laura, I call out, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. She turns, a smile spreading across her face, then faltering slightly at the severity of my expression. Mark? What's wrong? We need to talk. Now. I don't wait for her response, heading straight to the living room. She follows, confusion written all over her face. Once we're both seated, I waste no time. I know about you and the cab driver, I say bluntly. Her face drains of color. What are you talking about? Don't insult my intelligence, Laura. I've seen the footage. From the cab. You and him, together. I throw the words at her like accusations. Lara's eyes fill with tears, but I'm past caring. Mark, save it. I know everything. And I've made my decision. My tone is final, cutting off any pleas she might have. Before Lara can respond further, the doorbell rings. It's an interruption I planned. I stand to answer it, leaving her momentarily alone with her shock. At the door are two people, Jenny, Lara's sister, and Alan, a good friend and a savvy attorney. They step inside, their expressions serious. Lara stares in disbelief. Why are they here, Mark? She asks, her voice trembling. Witnesses, I reply coldly. And counsel. We're settling this tonight. Jenny walks over to Lara, her face a mixture of concern and disappointment. Lara, is it true? Lara sobs, nodding, burying her face in her hands. Jenny's comforting arm around her does nothing to soften my stance. Alan sets up his briefcase on our coffee table, producing documents. Lara, Mark is filing for divorce. Given the circumstances, he's seeking favorable terms. The conversation that follows is tense. Lara tries to explain, to justify her actions as moments of weakness, but my mind is made up. The details of the settlement are laid out, the house, the savings, even custody of our Labrador, Max. As the discussion drags on, Lara becomes increasingly distraught, realizing the full extent of the consequences. Jenny tries to mediate, suggesting therapy, a trial separation, but I'm resolute. By the end of the night, Lara signs the papers. The silence that follows is heavy, laden with the end of our shared dreams. After Jenny and Alan leave, I find myself alone in the quiet aftermath. Lara has gone to stay with her sister. The house feels empty, a shell of the home it once was. Outside, the street is quiet, the world oblivious to the seismic shifts that have occurred within these walls. I know this is only the beginning. Lara will have her own moves to make, and I need to be prepared. In destroying her world, I've changed my own irrevocably. The future is uncertain, and I brace myself for what's to come. The morning after the confrontation feels surreal. The house is painfully silent, no clatter of dishes, no morning greetings. It's just me and the echo of my footsteps as I navigate through the remnants of last night's turmoil. My phone buzzes relentlessly. Ignoring it initially, I finally glance at the screen, several missed calls and a message from Jenny. Mark, we need to talk. This isn't over. Her words feel like a premonition. Determined to clear my head, I step out for a walk. The neighborhood is waking up, unaware of the personal earthquake I've just experienced. As I turn the corner, I spot Tom leaning against his cab, his face grim. Mark. Tom calls out as he notices me. I walk over, my mood somber. Hey, Tom. Thanks for what you did. It helped me more than you know, I say, though gratitude feels like a hollow sentiment at this moment. Tom looks uncomfortable. About that, Mark. I think we stirred up something big. Mike's been talking. He's worried about fallout from the footage. What kind of fallout? I ask, my interest piqued. He's scared Lara might come after him legally. Says she's talking about invasion of privacy or something, Tom explains, his brow furrowed. A chill runs down my spine. We can handle it. It was all legal, right? Yeah, but legal doesn't always mean free of trouble, Tom replies, his eyes scanning the street as if expecting trouble to appear at any moment. We part ways, and I head back home, my mind racing. No sooner do I walk in than my phone rings again. It's Alan. Mark, we have a problem, he starts without preamble. Lara is pushing back. She's hired an attorney, some hotshot named Sandra Blake. They're challenging the divorce terms and the footage. A surge of frustration washes over me. What's our move? We need to fortify our position. Gather more evidence if you can. Anything that proves her infidelity wasn't just a one-time mistake, Alan advises. I agree, hanging up with a new purpose. The game has changed, it's no longer just about separation, it's about survival. Later that day, I meet with Mike, who's visibly shaken. Mark, I'm out if things get messy. I can't afford a legal battle. Listen, Mike, we need to stick together. If she can spin this, it'll hurt all of us. We need to show her actions clearly, I urge, trying to foster a sense of alliance. Mike nods reluctantly. I'll see what else I can find. Maybe there's more footage or other drivers who've seen something. As I drive home, a plan begins to form. Lara's move against me isn't just a defensive tactic, it's an attempt to regain control. But I won't let that happen. I need to be 2 steps ahead, always anticipating her next move. At home, I start digging through old receipts, emails, anything that could link Lara to further indiscretions. Each piece of paper, each digital trace I sift through, feels like stepping further away from the man I once was and deeper into the mire of deceit and revenge. That evening, Jenny calls again. Mark, let's find a peaceful resolution. This isn't good for any of us. Peace was an option before she decided to fight, Jenny, I reply, my voice cold, resolute. Now, I'm just playing to win. As night falls, I sit alone, surrounded by the artifacts of my crumbling marriage, strategizing like a general marshalling his forces for the battle to come. The stakes are clear, and I am fully committed, no matter the cost. The weeks of legal maneuvering and clandestine meetings seem to blend into a single, relentless storm. As the court date approaches, the tension between Lara and me transforms the air into something palpable, heavy with the promise of finality. I've been gathering evidence relentlessly, a task that leads me deeper into a network of deceit that extends far beyond what I had initially suspected. My allies in this endeavor, Tom, Mike, and even Alan, have grown just as weary, but our resolve remains firm. It's a bleak Wednesday when I receive a call from an unknown number. The voice on the other end is hesitant, almost nervous. Is this Mark? Yes, who's asking? My tone is guarded, weariness seeping through. My name is Daniel. I think you should know something about the video, about your wife and the cab driver. The stranger's voice cracks slightly. Curiosity piqued, I agree to meet Daniel at a nondescript cafe downtown. As I sit across from a jittery, pale-faced young man, my skepticism grows. Daniel looks around nervously before speaking. I used to work for the cab company, handling data, including dashcam footage. The video you saw, it was edited. The timestamps were altered. It wasn't your wife in the footage. The revelation hits like a physical blow. What? Why would anyone do that? Daniel's hands tremble as he sips his coffee. It was a setup. Someone paid a lot to make sure it looked like your wife was cheating. They used a look-alike. But why? Who would do this? The questions tumble out, each more frantic than the last. I don't know all the details, but Mike, he was paid off. He knew, Daniel confesses, avoiding my gaze. Rage and betrayal churn within me as I leave the cafe. The drive home is a blur of red and white lights, my thoughts racing faster than the car. At home, I confront Mike over the phone, who after much denial, finally breaks down and admits to the deception. I was in debt. They offered me a way out. I didn't think it'd go this far. With each revelation, the foundation of my revenge crumbles. The realization that I've been manipulated into destroying my own marriage crushes me. I call Laura, my voice barely a whisper. We need to talk. In person. Please. She agrees, and the meeting is cold, the air between us thick with unspoken accusations. Slowly, painfully, I relay everything that Daniel and Mike have confessed. Laura listens, her face an unreadable mask, then speaks in a quiet, steady voice. I never cheated on you, Mark. I thought you knew me better than that. The weight of her words, heavy with disappointment and pain, is suffocating. I'm so sorry, Laura. I should have known. I should have trusted you. But you chose to believe the worst, she says, her voice breaking. How can we go back after this? The finality in her tone leaves no room for argument. We part ways outside the cafe, the same place where we once dreamed about our future together. Laura walks away, her silhouette gradually blending into the bustling crowd, disappearing from my life forever. As I stand alone, the reality of what I've lost sinks in. In my quest for revenge, fueled by manipulated truths and deceit, I've ruined the only thing that mattered. The cold truth settles in, I was the architect of my own despair, a pawn in a game I never understood. The streets buzz around me, life moving forward as I remain frozen, a man shattered by his own actions, condemned to live with the consequences of his misplaced hatred and irreversible decisions.